They say that when you find yourself in a hole, you stop digging. Some people just didn't get the memo. Our friend Rachel, I'm not a chess champion either, Reeves, being one of them.
Yeah.
We, along with a whole host of other people, you and I,
Mm.
along with a whole host of other people, have been shouting out, stop digging.
Yeah.
But she obviously insists in putting that spade to good work. Job numbers coming in this week is nothing good for the under 35s, with 250,000 posts disappearing off the map, swelling the ever growing numbers on the Universal Credit Team. And these youngsters will be the backbone of the workforce of tomorrow. Once they get accustomed to life on the dole, that dream will be hard to realize. Right? As predicted by the International Monetary Fund, living standards have declined. They actually predicted flatlined. But when you have to battle inflation in real time, it becomes a regression. So we said that the incomes would be stable, but
Yeah.
inflation eats away and you'd have to go into your bank. And now Reeves is blaming the conflict in Iran as being a driving force for her failures.
Mm.
The writing was on the wall way before Starmer refused to get involved in this conflict. Everybody was telling her from all sides, even us. Earnings growth slowed right down over the past 3 months, with perhaps the MP's salary increase of 5%, propping up the average somewhat. The only glimmer of hope for Reeves was the overall unemployment figures, but only after doing a Labour NHS waiting list sort of manoeuvre. The reason for the drop in the unemployment rate was the removal of people from the unemployment register because either they were not required to work, in other words, they were old farts like
Yeah.
us, or had given up looking for work off their own back and just took early retirement and
Yeah.
so this shrank the numbers. And so Reeves is trying to say that this reduction in numbers is a success, but it's not of her efforts, or rather, they are off of her efforts because she's
Yeah.
demolished.
Yeah.
George Weston, the boss of Primark, criticised the plays by Reeves would bring negative consequences in the unemployment rates. Alex Hall Chen, an advisor to the Institute of Directors, a business group, said the figures reflected an ongoing stagnation in employer demand for labour. And so, with the Starmer situation overshadowing all of the other headlines, this little nugget simmered in the background. But when it boils to the surface in full force, that's when it may be more than Starmer who will be asked to resign.
Right. Okay. Yes. Okay. The competency or non-competence of our current Chancellor of the UK's current Chancellor Exchequer is certainly that's been under review since the moment she took office. Yeah. Um, it was predicted she's bad, and she's done nothing to kind of quell that.
I didn't need tarot cards for that one.
No. Uh, I mean, I will be quite honest. When they came to power, I thought I'd like to be pleasantly surprised. Um, the biggest shock is they're even worse than I even intended them to be. Yeah. I mean, being a Chancellor of Exchequer is a tough ask for anyone. And sometimes you have to cut some leeway and think, well, they're doing their best. Um, she can't seem to adapt. She can't seem to think for herself at all. She is nowhere near competent and anything to do with econ economics. Let's put it that way. Yeah. I mean, just because you've got a degree in economics doesn't mean you're going to be a great economist. Yeah. Um,
I'm
uh,
sure if he does.
well, um,
I mean, it says on a CV, but I suppose it must be true.
I mean, yeah. Well, the difference between her and me is I could show you my CV and justify everything on it. Yeah. Um, I've even got such extensive CV. I've left things off because I don't want to be, yeah, don't want to claim them. I don't
Bragging. Stop bragging.
stop bragging. Yeah, yeah. But I particularly, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want her job for the world, especially not after she's been it. To be quite honest, because as you said, if there was a small hole to start, there was probably a shallow trench to begin with. Now, after she's done it, there's a massive, great hole there. I mean, the thing is, when you look at it, she gave a speech to the. I did put the link in the previous video we done or podcast we done. She gave a speech in 2023 to the Fabian Society, more or less detailing the disruption she's causing now. Yeah. So I'm afraid anyone that voted for Labour voted for this. Yeah. And a vast majority of the people did not vote for Labour, either as non-voters or
Well,
yeah.
that
That's
you
by
can
the
only
by.
blame on
Yeah.
the public.
Yeah.
That's not to do
That's
with
not the yeah.
the competence of Labour Party.
But they are showing all the time. Well, okay. Um, is she operating using her own initiative? Has she got bad advisors around her, or is she operating on the instructions of elsewhere? Because I don't see she's growing the economy. All I see is more and more crashing. Um, and there's expression I grew up with, too uh, too consistent to be genuine, which actually means they're making so many mistakes. They've got to be doing it on purpose because there is no way you can be doing as much as they're doing destructively and not have some reason to do it. Yeah. Um, it's almost as if they've got a route plan to crash the economy and then rebuild it again. Um, I,
My opinion is a little bit slightly different,
yeah.
and I think it's that they are trying to kowtow to certain sections of the electorate to try and guarantee that they're going to get re-elected in the next general election.
Mm,
So things like raising the two-child limit on welfare,
mm,
for example, the people who are most likely to have more than two children on welfare
mm.
are not traditional English families, but are the invited guests, should we say, right?
Yes.
And
Okay.
so when you have the opposition saying we want to put this cap at two,
Mm.
and those in power saying no, no, it's unlimited. Who are you going to vote for if you've got 10 kids?
Well, yeah. Yes. Okay. Politicians trying to win votes, unheard of. Yeah, but it is they are, I think there's something a bit darker and sinister there. I think there is a move to across Europe, actually, when you see what's happening in other left leaning. I'm going to be honest, it's left leaning. I mean, it's bad enough some of the cock ups happening in 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 supposedly more right leaning countries, but um, I do think there is this drive to reshape the European economy globally or across the whole of Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, as I sort of said, I look for patterns. I mean, when you do start looking for patterns, you can see it now. Okay, that's what conspiracy theorists do, and I know, and hands up to that as well. Um, but there's just too much consistency now. She seems to be driving headlong into with her plan that's obviously failing. Um, now if you're a project manager,
I think women should not be allowed to drive.
sorry to any women listening. Yeah,
I put that in there just
yeah,
for the
yeah,
controversy.
yeah. Um, yeah.
She's driving the economy. Yes, of course she is.
Well, she's not driving the economy. She's at standstill, really.
Can't
She.
get it in gear.
Well, no, I think the economy's parked badly, but be it. I'm not drawing anything from that. I've just realised what I've just said there. Uh, yeah, yeah. It. But yeah, she just seems to have this plan. She's going to go with it for hell or high water, um, and we're going into hell with it. To be quite honest, yeah. To really stress the metaphor, we are heading the UK economy, and we're all affected. I've still got pensions in the UK, yeah, which I'm not realising because I'm still young. I'm still in my youthful, still classed as being young and youthful. Um, yeah, I'm having to work here in the sunshine, as it were. But I'm still having to work. It's not a paradise. Um, and yeah, I mean, and when businesses are crashing, I mean, if I was sitting at the top of a project, you see it failing beneath you. Part of being in, and let's put it this way, it should be the ultimate form of project management. You're looking at it, it's going wrong. What are we going to do to make this go better? Yeah. What part of our plan is failing? Um, okay, yes, I know. Where do we start? Yeah, that's going to be a long meeting. Yeah, what's actually working? Um, they now they're even living in a complete bubble, not realizing. And I mean, I imagine she must walk out of her house sometimes and walk down the street and speak to people or
I'm
see.
sure she. I'm sure
Well,
she leaves the house and gets into the limo and gets driven off somewhere. Look, these politicians and they get the salaries are so high
mm,
these days. Just giving themselves another 5%, and it strikes me that that they're all right.
yeah, I mean,
They're all right.
but I
Now
mean,
that now their job. If you speak to a Labour MP these days,
mm,
they're more preoccupied about keeping their job
mm,
as an MP and
yeah.
everything that it gives them
Well,
than
yeah.
than how to better this country.
Well, if we're talking about the government, okay, Labour, anyone represents Labour, and you see the doorbell um, things of people. In fairness to them, local Labour representatives who are doing what they think is right, and I'm not total agreement with swearing at them and telling them to f off and anything else. Yeah, if you don't want to vote for someone, say I don't want to vote because I'm not happy with things, and they're getting all this. Yeah, they're receiving all this, and some of them are very pleasant. Admittedly, some of them are very pleasant. Yeah, that's okay, fair enough. Yeah, there's nothing they can do, um, but yeah, this must be feeding back somewhere that we are failing the people, or this is the perceived. This is what's been perceived on the ground, on the ground, as it were. And when you get business people who own businesses, it's almost like um, these people. That Rachel Reeves has been before collections of business people. She must have got feedback from them why things are not good for them. They're having to turn to the media now. Yeah. Um,
I think that when Rachel Reeves gives the speech in front of business people, these business people are hand selected, left leaning business people who are going to cheer her on, saying
mm,
that she's doing the right thing, basically because they can afford to, or
mm,
because their indoctrination, for
mm,
want of a better word,
yeah.
is more powerful than the profits.
Well, admittedly, a lot of these companies jumped on the DEI bandwagon and things like that, which cost them dearly.
Yeah.
Um, partly because they probably felt they had to appear to be doing it. Now, I mean, I'm a total, I'm in total agreement of opportunities for everyone. Yeah, you
Yeah.
should be entitled to it, and yeah, I've got no problem with that at all. You know, I but when you see them, yeah, these business people, and it's documented. I mean, you read a paper, there's notable business people who don't really carry a political agenda one way or another. They're there
No,
to
no.
operate a business, employ
Just
people,
bottom
keep the
line.
keep the shareholders satisfied. Shareholders will never be happy. Keep them satisfied. They have to justify everything to the shareholders. Well, that's the way it used to work in business. Maybe I'm missing a point somewhere. Um, if anyone can actually afford to invest at some point at the moment. Um, Now, I mean, I watch her. I know. I mean, that's the trouble. We're not. Yeah, you and I, we can make two and two plus four. We can see things. We're not economists, but we can see when things are working or when things are not working. When I'm seeing businesses fail, alarm bells go in me. I mean, I am a private businessman here in Brazil. I rely on having business. Yep. I know all about cash flow. I know all about, yeah, advertising, getting people in, being competitive, having not fight off competition, but being amenable with people around me. Um, and yeah, saying sometimes, yeah, and adapting to market needs. But I expect the people making policy to adapt to market needs as a nation as well. Yeah. And that is not what the British government are doing. Um, I mean, the French used to call the British a nation of shopkeepers, i.e., they're just businessmen. Yeah. Um, and that was from the top downwards. Yeah. I don't think, I think the trouble is, our political elites are qualified to do, I don't want to use strong language, are
As Paul
qualified to,
Daniels would say, not a lot.